Sound. It's a powerful subject. It's a subject that I have always been drawn to, is the power of music and sound, and how that it affects our minds, our bodies, and how that it rearranges our life in many ways. I'm going to start out with just a few scriptures, and then I'll move on to what I want to really say, which is going to be a prerequisite to this afternoon. I'm going to go a little deeper into some things that I've never really shared with people, but how that sound has been known for a long time as a way of using it with the population, and how that we are seeing a shift from all these things that have been used on the masses are being to divide and conquer, are shifting back to healing and uniting. There's a scripture that's always fascinated me for many years of ministry based on the Bible, and it was the teacher teaching to be as wise as a serpent but as harmless as a dove. I just thought that was a bizarre scripture. Why would I want to be as wise as a serpent? But when you understand that this is talking about those who have come from the RX factor of their brain, called the reptilian part of the human brain, and have controlled this planet for a long time, has used these many modalities you're learning they knew about. They knew how to manipulate energy, Reiki. They've known how to use positive thinking. They've learned all of these things in a way that would benefit the few. And now that is shifting in this age of information, and information can't be hid in basements and archives of religious institutions and secret places any longer, because we're at a time in which that which has been done in secret shall be rewarded openly and shouted from the housetops. This is an age in which there is the greatest distribution and redistribution of information that there has ever been. And also that means it's a time in which we are entering into a time of gnosis, or knowledge, in which means we're entering into a time of power. And we have to raise our consciousness to a level to how are we going to use this power that is being unleashed on us through this kind of information and knowledge that is being made available to us. If we do not raise our consciousness to meet it, we're going to end up destroying ourselves. Destroying ourselves. And you can do that. You can destroy yourself, because I'm sure it's been done in the past. You that have dabbled into Atlantis teachings and some of these ancient civilizations that have been destroyed themselves basically because of the unbalance between technology and consciousness. If we do not raise a consciousness to meet the technology that we are a part of creating and bringing forth today, we're in a bad place. There's a place in the Bible, and it's Psalms 90:30. It says, God turneth man to destruction to say, return, ye sons of men. In other words, destruction is not a punishment. It is, I'll let you go into your own chaos. I'll let you go into your own place of crises and breakdown. If you choose to go that way, you don't have to. Feel it now. There's a more excellent way. That's the good news. There's a more excellent way, the Bible says. A more excellent way. We just haven't chosen the more excellent way. We choose the hard way. We choose the way of going by crucifixion and suffering rather than right into resurrection, which is available to us. We don't have to go through what we're going through if we made different choices as a people, as a nation, as a culture, as a world mindset. If we made different decisions, we'd have different outcomes. But we're choosing a path right now in which we are going to move with the way the universe works, and that is to break down old systems and break through new possibilities of new models of those systems. And you have chosen to live through this time in which we are going through this breakdown of old and the breakthrough of the new. So that means probably most of you are going through two different things at the same time, and that is death and rebirth. How much of the old world you knew is dying in front of you? And we of the baby boomers are kicking and screaming over it. It's not easy. We keep talking about the good old days. I'm not sure when it was the good old days it was that good old days, but now that it's in the memory, it was the good old days, you know. But I just think that we're strategically placed as a very important player in what is going on in the world today. And I invite your participation into it. Not just a coming and learning more knowledge and learning about more things, but you've got to make a commitment and participate in what is going on in the sense of raising and bringing forth a consciousness that is universal. We call it Christ consciousness, but it is nothing but universal consciousness. So, music has always played an important part of me, and I've already given you my personal testimony of how I was drawn to especially black gospel as a child. And I just found it to be a different experience that when I went to my all-white church and sang the same song at our church compared to the way the song was sung at the black church. I had a different experience, and that seed in me that music affects us differently. Different rhythms, different styles. It has a way of reframing us and reforming us and recentering us in many ways. So let me begin real quickly, just a couple of things I want to give you. In Matthew 16 and 19, this is recorded that Jesus is telling Peter. Now, Peter is important to us because it's our first power, right? Remember? Peter is what? Faith is faith. Faith is a frequency. Faith is definitely a frequency within us that is innate. It's not something mentally we just believe, is not just faith, but it is the knowing and remembering of what we have forgotten that is deep within us right now and waiting to be activated and with a charge. And we're going to teach you today how the tuning forks can be that charge in your life, to charge a lot that's laying dormant in you that is your potential, that all it's waiting for is a vibration or a sound to awaken it. To awaken it. So in Matthew 16:19 he says to Peter, I give unto you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. And whatsoever thou shalt bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatsoever you loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. So this is very powerful because I always thought keys, I think about a key that opens a door, a key, sometimes cars use, they don't use keys anymore, but keys that we use to open things like that. But I never thought of it in the sense of a musical key. The key of C, the key of F sharp, the key of E. All of these that we play here is in certain keys, right? And he's saying, I'm going to give you certain keys, certain sounds, certain frequencies, certain vibrations that is going to open up within you my presence, my space where I am the love you're looking for, the peace that you're seeking, the abundance that you think you do not have, all of the things that you believe out of here in the world of ego and illusion that you think you don't have is laying within you ready to be awakened. Can this be done through frequency or sound of music? Now, this gets a little touchy, but I'll get to it in just a minute. Isaiah 22 and 22 says, and the key of the house of David I will lay on his shoulder, and he shall open and none shall shut and none shall open. So this is kind of telling you that you're sharing the power that you call God. So if you see God as a power, you're sharing that power. God is giving you the power. That is what we refer to as the Almighty, the all-powerful one. And it is telling us that when you have this power, it's going to be up to you what you bind on in your life that you don't receive and what you loose that you can receive. That it's going to be up to you, that you're going to hold this ability to release in you your inner potentials or bind them and keep them deep in the prison of your subconscious mind. I'm giving you the keys to the kingdom. So this has come to mean something completely and totally different to me in the last 20 some years that I found out about these particular frequency codes that we're going to be talking about today. The English playwright William Congreve says, and I quote, music has the charms to soothe the savage beast. Isn't that great? To soothe the savage beast. within us can be done. There were times when Saul, who was one of the first kings of Israel, went through a lot of mental, emotional issues. Probably it calls it evil spirits, but evil spirits could be depression, anxiety, insecurity, all these are really our true demons that we deal with. And it says that when Saul would go through that, he would call to David, and David would play on his harp, and the evil spirit would go away. The depression would go away, would be dissipated. Now David, as you know, wrote what's called the Psalms. Everybody know that. That's a lot of chapters in your Bible is called the Psalms. Psalms are songs. So you read them like words in the Bible. Like, this is the day the Lord hath made, and in it shall I rejoice. Or we think, this is the day that the Lord has made, that the Lord has made. I will. So you can read it, and the letter killeth, or you can sing it, and it comes alive. Can you tell the difference? When I just quoted it as words, or when I sing it and put melody and compassion and passion into it, then it became alive in my cells of my body. My cells came alive and wanted to vibrate, to dance with that sound of melody. When you hear singing, the brain hears singing from a different place than it hears words being spoken. That's why music is so universal. You can put a bunch of people who disagree politically, religiously, racial, whatever. Put them all in there and get some music going, music that everybody knows, and you will see people blend themselves into the music. Because it is the soul of all of us that we share that part of ourselves in that way. So I have looked at music for a long time and the effect that it has through the power of sound in it. There's a poem by Kathy Gazetta that I really like and use in all of our workshops. She says, the forms of snowflakes and faces of flowers may take on their shape because they are responding to some sound in nature. Likewise, it is possible that crystals, plants, human beings may be, in some way, music that has taken form. The Bible speaks, and a lot of literalists believe, that God created the world in 6 days. They say 7, but they don't understand the 7th was a rest day. So this is kind of the old teaching. But what I'm offering to you today is the 7 days of creation, 7 vibrations or frequencies to bring forth creation into your life. 6 sounds and a still point. 6 days of creation, Sabbath. There's a rhythm to that. The universe is built on this 6. 6 electrons, 6 protons, 6 neutrons. Makes up the carbon atom that makes up most of the universe. Isn't that interesting? 6, 6, 6. The most feared number on the planet is 666. Anything they have made you afraid of is they're trying to hold and keep for themselves. Course of Miracles, I'm quoting, the ego, whatever the ego finds fearful, it interprets it fearfully. Think about that. Whatever the ego fears, it interprets it fearfully to make you afraid of the thing that will diminish it. So I'm skeptical of anything that's out there that religion has said is fearful and horrible. There's even a chord that is a diminished fifth, I think it is, I'm not sure, one of the diminished chords, but the church called it the devil's chord. And yet it is one of the most powerful chords that you can play as a diminished chord that can affect people. So I've learned that a lot of things I was to be afraid for are things I need to look into. The 666 is not a bad number. It is telling us that there is codes of information that is being held at the cellular level that is ready to be released and activated. Unfortunately, our music that we know doesn't do that. And I'm not in any way belittling music. I love music. I love playing. I love what we have here. But we are still playing in this Western system of tuning of the 440A. That wasn't the way it was, and I'm going to be talking about this afternoon. I'm going to show you how that the Rockefellers and others changed this whole tuning thing to make sure that when we think we're on tune, we're actually being out of tune. That out of tune has become the new tuning. Because you can do that using time, because time is relative, and you can make things that are off like they're on, and when you get on, you think you're off. That's what you're going through right now in your magnetic fields. All of your systems today have left. They've left the station. But they haven't arrived where they're going. So you're in a tuning process. You are the human orchestra. When you walk into that concert hall, into there, and you see all of you got strings, you got wind, you got percussion, you got all the different parts of it. But when you first walk in, you're going to hear each one of them tuning their instrument. And it's not pretty. That's not the pretty part. It's when they're over here doing their own thing and the violins are doing their own thing and everybody is just a bunch of noise that's going on. But if each one does what they're supposed to do and tune into the music they're going to play, that when that conductor stands up there and with his baton and puts that down beat to it and it all comes together, you go, oh, yeah. And even if you're not musical or trained, you'll know it. You'll know if everything is doing what it's supposed to be doing. So all of a sudden one of the violin persons loses their sheet music. But they don't want to stop and be made embarrassed about what they're doing, so they just keep playing. And you're in the audience going, wait a minute. Something doesn't feel right. I don't know where in the body orchestra, but somewhere in the body orchestra, something has gone out of tune. You'll know it. And this is the way it is with energy workers. People who are sensitive with energy will know there is something not in tune somewhere in the body instrument. When the violinist is able to get its music back and rejoin the synergy of the great sound of the orchestra, then you have that alignment feeling. We're all looking for that. Even in this time of challenge, of breakdown of third-dimensional systems, whether they be political, religious, science, education, it doesn't matter. In this time, you have to find your own center. If your center has been the government, I feel for you. If your center has been in a religion, a man-made traditional religion, I feel for you. If you think your own scientific way is the only way and you'll never believe anything different, I feel for you. If you think the only way is to give all your power to medical doctors and whatever, I feel for you. If you're not integrating some natural therapies and looking into other alternative things that are available to you, doesn't mean you have to quit the doctor. It just means that you must take responsibility to enter into the system and quit giving your power away to everybody. So, in the West, we have what is called 12-tone temperament music. So if I go C to C on this piano, you have no trouble with that because C equals C. and I've closed an octave. I've doubled this C to another C. Then I could go to a C and to another C. I could go to a C and another C. Closed octave, closed octave, closed octave, closed octave. But 2,700 years ago, there was a consciousness that dropped into the planet called Pythagoras. No, his name's not in the Bible. But you need to know about Pythagoras. Pythagoras was a Greek mathematician and musician that created one of the great mystery schools of all time in Greece 2,700 years ago. This is 500-600 years before the Christ manifested as Yeshua Jesus. And this man looked into the heavens meaning the heavens, the planets, the stars, the suns. And because he was a unique drop-in, he was a drop-in from heaven, he knew things that was not for his time. That's what drop-ins do. The Buddhists call them bodhisattvas. Bodhisattvas. Those are people that have completed all their incarnations and they can move on into another space and time, but they choose to come back to help others. They are the teachers, the enlightened ones, the first fruits, the first flowerings. And he knew that if heavenly bodies were up there, they had to be spinning to stay in space. He knew that. He had no science, he had no telescopes, he had no nothing to find that out. It wasn't through science, it was through his inner science. Inner science. And he thought if it's spinning, it must be making a sound. I used to carry with me a little hose when I first started these, and I take that hose and go, woo, 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 woo. It makes a sound. That means that everything out there is making a sound and connected in sound. There is no empty space in outer space. There's only fine fields of sound connecting all matter. This is innately who you are. You are sound. Most likely created by sound. Sound is the way that we can, what we can use to evolve ourselves to the next level. But Pythagoras looked up and he said, how can I get the sounds of heaven into the earth? And he came up with a genius idea. He said, I won't close the octave. I'll overshoot the octave. So something like this. Remember we did. Wonder if I did. And that's just great on your brain because your brain has learned close the octave. Now I've done a lot of studying of this. There are books on it, on just intonation, 12-tone temperament. There's all of these tuning things of how sound has tuned us to the sound. And get this, sound, this is really important what I'm going to say. Sound is a carrier of consciousness. When you're making a sound, your consciousness fills your sound. If you are angry, you are transferring anger through the sound. When you're screaming at somebody, screaming at the kids, yelling at somebody, that's a sound. And if you're in anger, then anger is being transferred to make that which you're trying to stop being anger more angry. That's why matching each other and arguing with each other and screaming at each other absolutely just accelerates the whole process of anger itself. You are to be the intervention. You are to reach a state of consciousness, to reach a state of consciousness in which we find ourselves into that we stop reacting and become observing as proactors and say that I'm going to stop this game, this illusion of anger, and I'm going to bring in the light of love unconditionally into it. Now, that's not easy to do from a human effort, but you can find the vibration and frequency of it. If you find the frequency of what you call love in you that's innately within you, then it will become a natural expression, and you'll shock yourself. So, my God, every time that happens, I get upset. Every time this has always happened, I do this and I do that. Wonder if you didn't. Wonder if something transformed you into the moment. Thank God we shall not all sleep. I love that. Thank God we shall not all sleep, but we shall be changed. How? By the renewing of our minds. So, I realized that the black gospel played more of these type of notes than here's white. And I realized it was altering me, altering my consciousness. And I became fascinated with it. And I tried to learn what I could learn, and I tried to play that. I tried to follow this because it was opening me up. Hear me. It was opening me up out of my childhood religion, and it was opening me up to start hearing the voice of the inner teacher in myself. That's what it was doing. I didn't know what it was doing. I just knew it was doing something. But it was opening me up to new ideas, new perceptions, new ways to see Jesus, new ways to see the Holy Spirit, new ways to see sin, new ways to see all these things that have been dumped into my brain from outside of myself. I began to realize that through this music opening my system up, that inner voice could have a space in which to speak to me. And I built a ministry on it 55 years ago. 55 years ago, I went with it. I didn't go with the voice that was in my head saying, you're going to lose family, you're going to be misunderstood, you're going to go through this, you're going to go through that. I listened to the still small voice, that whisper that was in me that was going to take me down a path, maybe not even less traveled, but a path that hadn't even been cut yet. Sound made all the difference for me. Now, in the late 80s, as you've heard before, I came into a very deep attraction toward understanding the human blueprint. I came up with what I call common sense of self-reasoning, as I begin to realize that you can do all the positive thinking and affirmations you want to, but if you don't change your blueprint, you're always going to go back to the blueprint. Let's say some architect goes out here and puts together something that isn't perfect. It's not a perfect house. There's failures in the blueprint. And they build one house, and it's inferior. And then they go take that blueprint and build another house and expect it to be better. It's not going to be better because you didn't change the blueprint. So I became fascinated to understand what can we do with our genome, our genetic material, and was one of the ones that stepped out and began to study DNA activation workshops, which I'm always proud to say one of the first most successful ones I had was in Charlotte, North Carolina in 1988 at Unity of Charlotte. They gave me the space to do this crazy stuff at that time. They really did, and I honor them for what they did for me to make my transition much easier that I was making out of more Christian traditional to more metaphysical. Spiritual was many years given to me with my relationship with Unity of Charlotte. So I want to give honor where honor is due in that way. So because of that, there was a frequency. How many knows everything has a frequency? I got tuning forks over there. It's got a frequency at every part of your body. I got frequency for liver, for heart, for intestines, for fat cells, you name it. Because everything has a frequency. Everything, your life, every day can be reduced to a frequency or to a vibration of some kind. So I heard about a very specific frequency that was being used by biochemists to repair DNA. And of course, I perked my ears right up because I went, I want that. That'd be great for me to put into my workshops for DNA activation. And it was 528 hertz. 528 hertz. So you can hear Gail back there is sounding it. It's a 528 hertz. And I wanted that. Now 528 hertz, if we had that up here, it would sound like this. But it isn't. It isn't. This is a C above C, and it is, I think, 512. And this is 528. And in the world of frequency, this is huge. You have to be specifically. You got to be on target. You got to hit the bullseye. You can't miss it. Because that's where we get the word sin, right? Missing the bullseye. Yeah, not the target. So you had to have a target. So even though the brain generalized it and heard 512 as 528, or 528 as 512, it wasn't. And I thought, now what do I do? Because there is nothing. We have no high, a C above C is a 512 frequency in Western music whatsoever. And that's when the universe opened up to me, was kind to me to put me in the right place at the right time, the right people at the right time. And someone just said to me one time, David, did you know that you can get a tuning fork made to any frequency you want? And the light bulb went on. I thought, well, that's fascinating. This is how I can get 528. I can have a tuning fork made. And I found out who was making tuning forks at that time. And then meanwhile, I found out that this 528 was a part of 5 other frequencies that had been used by David to write the Psalms, handed to Solomon, his son, to build the temple. And then it was lost for generations. Then it was rediscovered right after the time that Jesus Christ walked the earth, and we had the early church, the real church, the ecclesia, not the organized church, not Catholicism or Protestantism, but it was those who were just the followers of Christ's teachings. They were the Christians, not the Christians. They were Christians, a community of Christ-conscious people. And during that time, they began to produce music and chants that was based upon these frequencies, again, after this dormant time that it had been lost for so long. Second time it shows up, the solfeggio frequencies are called. Ut, re, mi, fa, sol, la. Ut, quint, laxes. Resini, fabris, myrogestorum. Familiar, polute. I know them all. They're all ancient Latin terms. And if you remember, the Catholic Church at one time sang Latin. And as long as there was Latin, these are still being sung as Gregorian chants in the church. And there's one on my website that you can hear called John the Baptist, St. John the Baptist, which is the 6 frequencies of solfeggio, ut, re, mi, fa, sol, la. Of course, the Western Christian church did not go toward healing and growth and release, but they went toward fear-based teaching. They took Dante's teachings of hell and all of the different degrees of hell. They were influenced by the art of their time, by the poets of their time, by the writers of their time, by those in power and popularity of the time, formed what we have today as the organized Christian church. From there, original sin, Trinity, many beliefs that are believed today are found in the Nicene councils of the first century. So, the church, in its changing, found someone to come in and to redo what it meant to teach Gregorian chants. And his name was Guido of Azario of southern Italy. And of course, when you get somebody to come in and change something, the danger of one person doing it is that they will insert their agenda. This is why it's better to be more in groups and committees and things like that, so that one person is not given all the power to put their agenda into something, but we make sure that we keep it bigger than ourselves. You agree with that? Absolutely. So, he came in with his agenda. His agenda was the superstition of the time. One, there was only 7 planets in the universe. That's what they believed at that time. They also believed that the earth was still in the center with the sun going around it. So you have all these old superstitions that are there. So he felt like that you could not have a vibration or sound that ended in a vowel or in a consonant. So the first of these sacred sound codes is ut quint laxus. That's the first one. It is the base. It is the foundation frequency to all of the frequencies of solfeggio. We bring it into the root chakra, the most dense. The fork is a red fork representing the red root chakra. And it is ut quint laxus. And, you know, you study all this stuff in this would be it. Ut. It happens to be a 396 frequency. What do I mean 396? It means when you sound that fork, it's going to vibrate 369 times in 1 second. 396 times in 1 second. And the brain is going to hear that vibration as a sound based upon how many times it vibrates. If you change a fork to a different vibration, you're going to hear a different sound. If you change the fork to a different vibration, you're going to hear a different sound. So frequencies always make up sound in some way. So he said we can't have ut because it ends in a consonant. So ut, you're out. Ut out. And he said we're going to put in do. D-O, do. Pretty soon we have do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. And the next thing we know, we have Julie Andrews in the meadow with the kids going do, a deer, a female deer, re, a drop of golden sun, which is catchy, great movie, love it, but it's watered down sound. It is not the original sounds of creation whatsoever. And because he believed that 7 planets and 7 days of creation, he added a 7th sound, which was C-S-I, which was the initials of Santa Ionis, which was his mentor in the scheme of things. So he added a 7th sound where 7 becomes deceptive in this number 7. 7 itself is a good sound, but when used this way to tip the balance of the 6, because remember I told you 6 is the power number of the universe. How many have heard of Nikola Tesla? Tesla says, if you only knew the magnificence of the 3, 6, and 9, you would have the key to the universe. 3, 6, and 9, you'll have a key to the universe. All of our forks end in 3, 6, and 9. If you go back, Tim, to what we had. So the oud is 396. Now, to come up with these root frequencies, you use a scheme called the Pythagorean scheme. You that have had numerology done, how many's had numerology of your name done? Okay. Numerology is changing your letters into numbers, like D would be 4. It's the 4th number of the alphabet. And then you change into numbers and you add them up. And you keep adding them up until you find a single number. So you can't go beyond 9. You can't go beyond 9. So 9 is completion. Why? Because when you go to 10, what do you have? 1 plus 0 is a 1. So you start all over again. Christians, and I was taught this, that 7 is God's complete number. No, 9 is the complete number of the universe. It's a cycle. When you have 9s in your life, that means you're completing a cycle. Something is over. You're getting ready to spiral off into another spiral of your life when 9s are showing up everywhere. I constantly check numbers out everywhere I go, whatever I do, what seat I'm in, what motel room I'm in, whatever. I'm looking because the universe is guiding me through numbers. It is one of the only things that cannot be changed in all the universe is math. Ray, not a drop of golden sun, but raisonné Fabrice. So let's take the oot. 396. 3 plus 9 is what? 12. And 6 is 18. And 1 plus 8 is 9. Okay, quickly. The next one, 417 is Ray. 417 is 12. 1 plus 2 is 3. And on it goes. Please notice you have 2 9s, 2 6s, and 2 3s, which are anagrams. Anagrams mean same numbers in different order. So you have 396 and 639. See that? Same numbers. 417, 741. Same numbers. 528, 852. These are powerful vibrational portals that are opened by using these anagrams. Okay? Now, Tim, I'm going to do the Bible thing and then I'll stop. I hope you come this afternoon. I'm really going to give some heavy-duty stuff about numbers and what's going on. So, they were lost again the second time and not discovered until the third time in 1974, the year my daughter was born. 1974. In 1974, there was a gentleman who is a researcher, a spiritual minister, scientist that lived up in Sandpoint, Idaho, who was having a mystical experience. And it all started out on an evening of rain and fog, and his windshield was all fogged up and whatever, and numbers began to appear on his windshield. Series of 3 numbers. He thought he was going insane. He was crazy. The numbers started showing up on your windshield. You know how you write when it's condensed the water? Yeah. And these numbers, he thought, I don't know what this is, what's going on. Finally becomes directed to say, you need to learn the Pythagorean scheme of how to do numbers. He never heard of Pythagoras. Never heard of it. But he looked it up and found out, just like I showed you, you take the numbers and you divide them into a certain number. So he did that. And then he has an experience in a diner that tells him that there are 6 frequencies that have been lost that needs to be restored to the people of this generation and this time that would help them to bridge into the next stage of human evolution through this frequency, these frequencies. Dr. Puleo is his name, Joseph Puleo. I was able to talk to him before he made a transition some years ago. But he called the Catholic Church, universities. He was told to stay out of it. It did not matter. Everything from even being shot at in his own kitchen, and was saved by holding a big bottle of virgin oil making spaghetti is what really saved him from a laser bullet. It became really touchy, this whole thing of finding these frequencies out that have been hidden in the archives of some of the religious institutions and secret societies. You all have to understand the societies of the day learn to read the Bible different than the masses. Finally, when the Bible is printed and cannot be kept from the masses, which they tried to keep from, but once it was given to the masses, the people were taught to use it because they knew it was a coded book. Such as, how many of you have thought about when God was, let's go back to the old way, God is dictating the Bible. That's what they believe. So God says, all right, chapter 1, verse 1, in the beginning God created. That is just ridiculous to me. First of all, did God speak English? What language was God spoken? In the first place, you have to look at. But look at all these verses and chapters. Who do you think did this? You think this just popped up this way? No, this was done later. I've studied it. I know exactly who it was. It was a certain priest that took this time to put it into chapters and verses. But they used numbers as hidden codes for people who were going to be in special societies. Let me give you a few names. Mozart, Beethoven. Others that you enjoy today are famous because they understood these frequencies and put it in their music. And this music and these frequencies are so in the soul of mankind that mankind responds to it and they start thinking they like it. What they're really liking is the alignment they're feeling between their true self and divine self, inner self and outer self. We like that feeling. You get into a rhythm sometimes. Huh? You become the rhythm. The rhythm becomes you. Alignment. We like that alignment with things like that. So, I could go on and on and on about all this, and I will this afternoon, but I wanted to show you this. Now go back to it real quick. I know it's late. I was reluctant to get on this subject today because I got 20 years of stuff in my head of study. So, who he calls Yeshua said to him, go into the Bible and I will show you where the 6 frequencies are hidden in the Bible based upon code. So, he went to the book of Numbers. Boring. Some of these books are so boring in the Bible it puts you to sleep in a second because they mean nothing to you, what it says. You couldn't relate to it if you wanted to unless you understood the pattern, unless you understood the code and understand how it works. So I can't read this very good, but thank you. He was told to go to start with Numbers 7 and 12 in a King James Bible. Here's what verse 12 says. On the first day was Nashon, the son of Amminadab, and the tribe of Judah did offer. Counting down 6. Remember, 6 is the power number here. Going down 6. On the second day, Nathanael, the son of the prince of Israel, did offer. On the third day, Elab, the son of Helion, prince of the, did offer. In other words, there's a repeat in all of these scriptures, which would be 1 plus 2 is 3, 1 plus 8 is 9, 2 plus 4 is 6, 3, 6, 9, the oot frequency. Do one more. Now, you started with 12, go to 13. And his offering was 1 silver charger, the weight thereof. Go down 6 to 19, he offered his offering 1 silver charger, the weight thereof. Go down 6, he's offered 1 silver charger, the weight thereof. Same repeated things every 6 verses. 3 and 1 is 4. 1 and 9 is 10 or 1. 2 and 5 is 7. What do you have? 4, 1, 7. One more. Go down to 14. 1 spoon of 10 shillings of gold. Go down 6 to 20, 1 spoon of gold, 10 shillings. Go down 6, 1 golden spoon of 10 shillings. Repeat it over and over again. You have 4, 1, 5, 2, 8, 528. And it goes on and on that way. Now, who would have known? Only those that were trained. So Mozart and them took in their music, they looked at all these different frequencies, and they began to put it into their music, and they've become world famous today, after living hundreds of years ago, because their music stays. You know, there's music that comes and goes. You can get little ditties out there, and you like it for a while till the new thing comes out, and then you're off on that. Then there is the music of the soul. There is the music of the innate part of us that doesn't depend on popularity. It doesn't depend on enough people buying their music or their sound, but it is a part of the earth culture. Alignments. These are the codes. So what I'm going to show you this afternoon, how to open your 6 frequency codes to release your light body, your Merkaba. I'm going to show you what you have in your brain that you don't know that is connected to these 6 frequencies that can change and transform your life. I'm going to show you where they have known this for a long time. They still use it to control mass groups and crowds with sound, and how today that sound is going to play one of the biggest parts of our human conscious bioevolution that there is. If you want to learn to create, learn the recipe of sound. If you want to learn how to open your system up to what Spirit is trying to say to you, but it's not getting there. It's speaking. Trust me, it's speaking to every one of you. Everything you're asking has already been given to you. I'll even answer before you ask, it says. I love that. I'll answer before you ask. Why? Because it's already been answered at creation. Every prayer you could have, everything you could ask for, anything that you could question, any question that you have has already been settled in the heavens that is within you. And like Pythagoras, how do we get those heavens and let it be done on earth as it is in heaven until our bodies are living the heavenly life on the earth? For the Son of Man says, I am in heaven, and his feet was on the earth. Living in heaven is living in the harmony with life, purpose, passion, compassion, health, blessing, and prosperity. That's why we're all here, because we're seeking that atonement. Atonement. Do you hear it? The word tone is in atonement. There's a tone, and when you hear the sound, it's all going to come together for you. Everything that happened in your life in the past that you don't understand, you were abused, you were abandoned, you were this, and without understanding of it, it haunts you. It bothers you. It forms you psychologically. It depresses you. But wonder if all of that came into alignment and you had the explosion of the very intelligence of God, the divine in you, and you understood everything and how it was connected in this moment. You would be totally set free as a human being to be all that you were created to be in this moment. So, I hope that you will come and hear all this. I think it would be beneficial for you to understand a little bit. This is Tim and I's life. We work a lot here, but we work a whole lot there. He does, anyway, at Soul Energetics 7 days a week to get this out. We are translated in Japanese, Chinese, Spanish, French, and we have reached out to the whole world. We have teachers in Hong Kong. We have teachers in Tokyo. We have teachers in France. We have teachers all over, because I wanted to get this out as much as I can in my time to the world, and we have watched it become something that people were skeptical, to something now that has entered into the consciousness of so many people who are sharing the music and the sounds of the solfeggio frequencies.
Time to let your heart fly.